This is the perfect trade the Seattle Seahawks could make to fix their running back room for next season, as reports have just surfaced that a star running back wants out of their current team and is now available on the market. Today, we're going to be breaking down what that move is, what it would look like to get done, and if this is the right move for the Seahawks. What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a great day from wherever you are tuning in from. Kyle Guerrero here, host of Seahawks Digest, where we bring you everything Seattle Seahawks news-related, rumor-related, report-related as it is happening in real time. And we have some updates on the saga of Kenneth Walker and if he will be returning for next season. We also have reports of a new player who just became available and could be a key target we look to trade for if we lose out on Walker. So let's dive right into this. But before we do, we have noticed that 98% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you want to stay up to date with Seahawk daily content, please hit that subscribe button and it is free. So right out the gate, we have an update from Jeremy Fowler about Kenneth Walker. He is reporting that there's sufficient interest in Ken Walker to think he will be leaving the Seahawks. Fowler goes on to note that David Montgomery wants out of Detroit. He says he is owed $6 million, his base salary is $5.5 million, and that the Seahawks make sense if they lose Walker. Brady Henderson has previously brought up Montgomery's name, so it sounds like this is the plan. If they lose Walker, pivot to Montgomery. Fowler reckons the Lions would want a day 3 pick and return. The Seahawks currently only have a 6th rounder in that range, though. Potential pick swaps could be in play, with the Lions owning a 4th rounder, 2 5th rounders, and 2 6th rounders. Could the Seahawks, for example, swap 96 for 118 and give up their 6th rounder in a deal? It shouldn't be a surprise if Walker is priced out of a return. There's likely Super Bowl MVP tax going on and a thin running back draft, plus the possibility of Breece Hall being tagged means Walker will be the key target for several teams needing a new runner. And honestly, this makes sense with Breece Hall potentially getting tagged on the Jets. Kenneth Walker is going to be the top name available as a running back this offseason, and he has that Super Bowl MVP credit to his resume as well. So the hype is there for Ken Walker right now. Some of the teams that are looking at him are the Hawks, of course, the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Texans, the Bears, the Panthers, and the Giants. Now, we got to remember that the Seahawks have opted not to put the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker, which would be $14.5 million for next season. Instead, we are going to let him hit free agency when it starts on March 11th, and his rumored value is between 10 to 13 million per year for around a 4-year deal, so just over $45 million a year. I think the Seahawks are trying to get him at around 9 million for maybe 3 years. But there's going to be teams out there that are willing to spend maybe 13, maybe 14 to get a Super Bowl MVP on their team. Imagine if a team like the Giants got the Super Bowl MVP on them. It would just bring more hype to the team. Now, popping back over to David Montgomery, Jeremy Fowler has pointed to Seattle as a potential landing spot for David Montgomery. And let's talk about Demo a little bit because he has been great in Detroit the last few years. He is going into, I think, his 7th or 8th year in the NFL, and he turns 29 in June, so he's going to be 29 for this upcoming season. And in Detroit over the last few years, he has split the workload with Jahmyr Gibbs, but kind of probably for the later half of last season, Jahmyr really took a 3-down back role. He kind of became more of the workhorse where Montgomery was just filling in here and there, and his production has really dipped a little bit because of that. And I remember a few months ago, Montgomery was liking some tweets of people saying Demo is still a starter running back type of player, and he is still able to give starting running back production. So all signs are pointing to David Montgomery wanting a lead back role on an offense, but he is not going to come out and say he wants to leave the team he is on right now because he is a professional. So when we look at David Montgomery's stats from this past season, nothing here is super impressive. He rushed for 716 yards. He had 8 touchdowns on the ground and then caught another 192 in the air. And he was running for about 4.53 yards per carry. I don't think that Detroit offensive line was as good as they were in years past. But again, for a guy who was splitting his workload and then kind of lost even more than he was probably playing 25-30% of the snaps towards the end of the year. So, nothing crazy that stands out right here. And if we look into his previous years in his career, he's always been a guy that's around 900 to 1,000 yards each year. He is able to do some stuff in the air, catching around 200 to 300 yards per year. He does average around that 4.5 yards per carry for his career. And in 2014 and on 2013, he had great years on the ground for the Detroit Lions, where they were truly splitting the workload between him and Jameer 50-50. He accounted for 25 touchdowns in 24 and 23 combined. Now, here's a good stat to look at of who had the most rushing touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. And of course, we've got Derrick Henry, Josh Allen, and Jahmyr Gibbs right up there with 39 to 44 all up there. But if we scroll down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th is David Montgomery with 33 touchdowns on the ground. So if he was not splitting the workload with Jahmyr Gibbs, it is not unreasonable to say that David Montgomery could have led the league in touchdowns over the last few years. But again, he was splitting the workload, so he was able to stay healthy the full season, and Jahmyr Gibbs is easily a top 3, top 4, maybe top 5 running back in the league, so it makes sense why the Detroit Lions are trying to utilize him and his skill set more. And I think this is the offseason that Jahmyr is due a big extension. So, yeah, it makes sense why Detroit want to go with him. Hopping back over to Kenny Walker just for a second, it sounds like he's generating enough outside interest to spell the end of his time in Seattle. So we need to remember the franchise tag is $14.5 million. We are opting not to give him that. The Seahawks are hoping to get him in that 4-year, $9-10 million range. And it just seems that with the amount of interest that he is getting from other teams, that he could get 12, 13, maybe $14 million somewhere else to a team that is really needy and running back hungry right now. And honestly, this is not surprising whatsoever because of what a great playoff run Kenneth Walker did have, and he is only 25 years old. It sounds like he's generating enough outside interest by the end of his time in Seattle. Yeah, there's going to be some team willing to pay him more than what the Seahawks are. We have a lot of other deals we need to focus on this offseason in extending JSN, Devon, Witherspoon, re-signing free agents, Shaheed, Kobe Bryant, bringing in replacements at cornerback. We have a lot to do, and overspending on a running back isn't really the best thing, especially when we have a guy like Zach Charbonnet who had 12 or 13 touchdowns this year for us. He is coming off that ACL injury, but he will be back at some point next year, and he is still a great back. It's also worth noting that Kenneth Walker did have injury history over the last few years with the Seahawks, and that is why we split his workload 50-50 during the season, why he was able to stay healthy for so long. Who knows if he can be a true bell cow 3-down running back on another team, and if his body can hold up for an entire season. Now, what nobody is talking about here, David Montgomery is owed $5.5 million for next season. The Seahawks can go out and get him with a 5th, 6th round pick, something like that. He is still able to give you starter level running back production. He would be able to hold down the fort while Charbonnet is rehabbing and getting healthy that first, second month of the season. David Montgomery is in no way as explosive as Kenneth Walker, and he is not going to go off for 50, 60-yard bursts at any time, but he is more of a bruising back that can pick up those hard 2-3 yards. He is not going to do anything that is super pretty or flashy, but he is going to get the job done. Now, let's look at the risk versus reward if the Seahawks were going to go out and get this deal done for Montgomery. He would bring experience and reliability. He is a much cheaper contract value than Walker at probably around 12, 13. He's about half the amount. He's a better receiving back, and he is good in the pass protection game. He helps Darnold in intermediate passing. And that's right, Kenneth Walker has never been a great pass protector. We often put Charbonnet in those situations. The risk for the Seahawks here is he is less explosive than Walker. He will not create the same big play bounce and loss of homegrown identity. Kenny Walker's been with us for the last few years. We have seen him grow into the player he is today. He has been a good leader. He has been a good Seahawks guy. So it would just suck to see him leave. What this move would really signal is that the Seahawks want someone that can come in and be consistent in the running back position until we get Zach Charbonnet back fully healthy. And David Montgomery really, he would be able to do that if we were to go the first month of the season with Montgomery in that lead back position where he's able to run for 4.5 yards per carry, getting 20 odd touches, and then slowly work Zach Charbonnet back into the deal. I think we would be okay. This move would really just signal that we want experience and someone that is going to be consistent stepping into that position instead of going out and getting a rookie who's never played an NFL down. Go out and get a guy who's been 8th in rush touchdowns over the last few years. Here's what we got to watch next here. See what is going on around the buzz with Kenneth Walker, what other teams are willing to offer him once free agency starts as well. The Seahawks will still put the tag on him, but I mean, that's 99% not going to happen. Pay attention to the rumor reports, see what's happening with David Montgomery right now. And let's have a look at players in the draft that we could start targeting, running backs that could fit our system very well as who are other running backs in free agency right now that we could maybe get for even cheaper than Montgomery and might be a better fit. It is worth noting that David Montgomery came out and he's kind of denying these reports that he wants out of Detroit. But again, he's a good team guy that's not going to say, hey, I don't want to be on this team anymore. But I mean, we can tell from how his snap share went down and stuff he was liking on Twitter last season that he wants more of an expanded role. He thinks he is still a starter level running back and he wants to have more opportunities since he's probably in his last few years here, giving good production still. It is officially time for the 12's verdict where we want to hear from you. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are and if we should target running back David Montgomery. Drop that little green emoji and a yes down below in the comments if you think we should, or if you think we should stay the hell away from Montgomery, drop a blue, say no. I really want to hear what you guys think because this is a really interesting take and I'm a little 50-50 here. But knowing anything about how John Schneider is, I think we're much more likely to target a running back earlier or in a mid-round in the draft than going out and getting a guy like David Montgomery. But if we were to, I wouldn't be opposed for David Montgomery's services next year. It'd really be a low risk opportunity just because he's on that 1-year deal, just around 5.56 million. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. That'll do it for another episode here of Seahawks Digest. Please give a subscribe if you can, and we'll see you at the next episode.